Hello guys, myself Pawan and you are watching Optimistic Coder, and in this video we are going to discuss about selection statements, different types of it, the syntax of each and every statement and implementing it in Eclipse. So watch the video till the end, and if you are new to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell, and let's get started. In selection statement we basically have 5 different type of statements: if, if else if, nested if and switch case. Now let's have a look on syntax of each and every statement. So the first statement is if statement, and let's understand the syntax of if statement with the help of flowchart. So first at the start it will go and check the if condition, and if the condition is true then it will go and execute the if block statements, and if the condition is false then it will go and execute the rest of the statements present in the program, and it will skip the if block statements. Second one is if else statement. If else statement has two different blocks, that is if block and else block. Now let's understand the syntax and the flow with the help of flowchart. First it will start and check the if condition, and if the if condition is turned out to be true then it will go and execute the if block statements, and if it turns out to be false then it will go and execute the else block statements. Third one is if else if, and in if else if statement the syntax might look bit complicated, but we can understand it with the help of flowchart. So first it will go and execute the if condition, and it will check whether it is true or false. If it is true then it will go and execute the if block statements, and after execution of if block statements it will come out of if else if, and if that condition is false then it will move on to the next block, that is else if, and it will check the condition, and if that condition is satisfied to be true then it will go and execute the else if block, and after execution of else if block it will come out of if else if, and if that else if condition is false then it will go and check the next else if block coming in sequence. So we can have n number of else if blocks in if else if. Now if we consider that all the else if block condition are false, then at the end it will execute else block only, and after execution of else block it will come out of if else if. Fourth one is nested if. Nested if means whenever you have a if block and within the if block you have another if block, then that is called as nested if. We can see the syntax. Now let's understand the flow with the help of flowchart. So at the starting it will go and check the condition that is present in if, and if that condition is true it will go into the inner if condition, and if the inner if condition is also true then it will execute the inner if block statements, and then it will come out of nested if. If the condition that is present in inner if is not satisfied and it is false, then it will go and execute the inner else block statements, and after execution of those statements it will come out of nested if. And if the if condition itself is false at the first place, then it will go and execute the else block statement, and then it will come out of nested if. Fifth one is switch statements. The switch statement is going to have n number of cases, and depending upon the choice that you make, the cases will be executed. So let's understand the whole flow with the help of flowchart. So at the beginning it will go and check the switch choice. Now whatever the choice that you make, depending upon that it will match with the cases, and if the cases are getting matched then it will execute that particular case. Then it will go on check the first case block. Now in the case 1 if it is true then it will execute the case 1 statements, and it will come out of switch block. if that case 1 is false, then it will go on to the next case, that is case 2. And if case 2 is true, then it will go and execute all the statements in case 2 and come out of switch. And it will do till it gets a proper case match, and we can have n number of cases. So if we consider that none of the cases matches with the choice, then it will go and execute the last block in the switch, that is default, and it will execute all the statements in default block, and after execution it will come out of switch. Okay, so let's start the programming for all the selection statements that we have seen right now. So I have created a control class, and within that I have created a main function. Now we will declare a variable of integer data type, and the variable name is a, and the value that we are going to store is 10. And now we are going to write a if condition, and it is going to start with if keyword, and within the parenthesis we are going to give some condition. That condition could be a combination of relational and logical operators, but at the end it is going to give out a boolean result, and on the basis of that it will check whether it is true or false, and if it is coming up as true, then it will go and execute the if block, or else it will skip the if block and it will continue the execution. Now if I will write here that a is greater than 5, which is a true statement, and I will just write a simple print statement here, that if executed, and here I will just write system.out.print end of the program. So if this statement is true, then whatever the condition that we have written in the if block will be executed. So if I save it and run the program, so you can see that after executing the if block, it is going and executing the rest of the statements. So that is the way how we write an if condition. So now if we take it to a next level, that is an if else, you just need to write an else keyword, and that becomes an else block. Now within the if block, whatever you have written, if that condition gets satisfied, that means this condition that I have written here, if it gets satisfied as true, then only it will go and execute the if block. If that condition doesn't satisfy and it is giving you a false value, then it will not go and execute the if block. Now in the case of if else, if the value that you have given in the if condition is false, then it will go and execute the else part. So I will just write in the else part as else executed. Okay, and we can see that the condition that I have given here in the if is false, so it will not go and execute the if block, and it will go and execute the else part. So if I save it and run the program, you can see that else is executed, and it also executes after the else part, whatever the statements are there. So that's the way how we write if else, and this is the syntax of an if else statement. Now if you want to write an if else if, then the statement, the syntax will be the same, but a minute changes will be there, and that is after writing if block you will write else if block. So in the else if block also you will have to write some condition, like a is greater than 10, greater than 5, and then you can write n number of else ifs, as many else if that you want you can write it, there is no restrictions in that, but for now I am just writing one else if, and at the end you can just close it with else. You can either write else, or even if you don't write else, it will not show you any syntactical error, but writing an else is a good thing. So in the end I will just write else is executed, and here it is else if executed. Okay, so as we can see in this, that if the condition that is given in the if is true, then it will go and execute the if block. If the condition is false, it will move on to else if block, and if the condition that is present in the else if block is true, it will go and execute whatever there in the else if block, and it will leave the rest of the blocks that are in the line, that is else. And if it fails in that also, then it will go and execute the else block simply. So in this case, if in the first scenario, in the first case itself, in the if part or in the if block itself, if the condition is true, then it will not go and check any of these else if or else, and even it will not go and execute it. If this block is getting executed, then it will directly go and jump off to this particular statement. So let's execute and see. So if I execute it, you can see the first if is false, so it will go and check the else if, and as the else if is getting executed, it will go and jump out of the if else if block, and it will go on to the end of the program. Now if I make this if as true, now you can see both the statements, that is this if condition and this else if condition, both are true. Now when both are true, what will be executing? Now as per the program flow, it will go and check the first thing, that is if. Now if it gets executed in the if part itself, then it will not go and check the else if or the else part. So if I execute it, you can see if will be executed and it will directly move on to the end. Now let's see how we can write nested if. So in the case of nested if, we are going to write if block within the if block. So if I write if and I give a condition like a is greater than 5, which is a true condition, then it will come inside the if block. And again if I have another condition, that is a is less than 5, which is again true, so it will come again inside the if block. So this is if inside if, so that's why it is said to be as a nested if condition. Okay, so that's the inner if. And even I can have an else block within the if else. So now if this particular if condition gets true, it will go inside this block of code, and it will go and execute this if. If this if condition is getting true, then only it will go and execute this print statement, or else it will not go and execute this, and it will execute the else part. In the same way, if this if condition gets false, then it will come out of this if and it will execute this else part. Okay, so if my first condition in this if is false, it will directly come out and it will just execute the else part. If this condition is getting true, then it will go in the inner if, it will go into this block and it will go and execute this thing first, and it will check. And if this condition is false, then it will not go and execute this statement, and it will go and execute the else part. Now if I execute this, you can see the inner if is executed because both of the conditions are true. Now in this case, if I write, for example, if I make this condition as false, then the inner else will be executed. You can see inner else is executed. Now in that case, if I make the first condition itself as false, then it will go and execute the else part. You can see that's written else. So this is the way how we are performing nested if. So don't get confused in nested if. You can practice a bit so that you could get better in nested if. Now at the end we have switch cases. In the case of switch case, if I write here, the syntax is switch, and within the switch I just need to give some value here, and that value can be anything. That can be an integer, a character, a string that you want. So whatever the type of value that you give, it should match with the cases that you give in the switches. So the syntax is like switch, and then you give a condition. For example, I give a value 1 here, and then I have you can have n number of cases here. So the cases can be case 1. So as I'm giving here numeric value, so that's why I'm putting here a numeric value. If even I can put here a character value also, and even a string value too. So if I pass here a string value, it completely takes that. So now if I write here as value as 1, and in the case I put it value as 1, then within that particular case I need to write some statement. So this is case 1. So like this you can have n number of cases. So I will be just writing 4 cases for now, and at the end you will be having a default as a case. So in this default, it means that if none of the cases are executing, then default case will go and execute. So in that also I will just write it's a default. So now in the switch you can see I am giving value as 1. So now in the switch case what happens is it will go and check that okay it's 1. It will go and check for the first case. It gets 1, then it will go and execute the case number 1, and then it has to come out of the switch case. But if I execute this particular program, you can see that all the statements are getting printed. Now why is this? Because in the switch case you need to remember that as per the syntax we have break, and this break is used because it will come out to make the switch come out of the statement. Okay, for default it's not necessary to write a break. So it will go and now it will go and check the first condition and it will come out of the loop, come out of the switch. Now in this you can see system.out.print case 1 if I am passing value 1. Okay, if I am passing value 4, it will go and execute the case number 4. And if I am passing value here something else like 7 which is not present in the case, it will go and execute the default part. So that's all in today's videos guys. I hope you like the video. In the next video we are going to discuss about iteration statements.